And we're back with some more oxygen not included. And today I think we need to make a few drastic changes to the map. It's just, someone pointed out that we kind of are a little bit confined and digging out space is a problem, so let's just sort a few problems all at once. First was suggested, why is this taking so long? Why don't we just double or triple up on the amount of, well, removal of salt water? Reason being is we've only got 2 desalinators. Why? We've managed to up our power by a huge amount since we installed those, so why not up our power amount? Well, why about cut into that power amount by just building a bunch of extra desalinators? We have plenty of space. The problem for these 4 is going to be power, though. These things take 480 watts, so 4 of these will take an entire 2 kilowatt wire. And I am not running heavy watt wire all the way from over here. Our power spine's over here. And we could, it'd just be a waste. This is only going to be temporary until we catch up with the backlog in the liquid tank. I mean, it's not like this liquid tank's going to end up with the bajillion tons more salt water after a while. This is the big stockpile we've started with. And then, so long as we keep up with the vents and geysers that are attached to it, we'll never have to run this many desalinators again. So we'll just chuck this down. Though I am going to have to put some water filters on it. Reason being, there's some polluted water in here. And we should most likely filter that out and make sure it gets into the water. So there's not a lot of polluted water left. It'll be gone in no time. Alright, so over here, we're going to run the power cabling. Power cabling coming here. We'll have to put in 2 fresh wires. One to go down here for the pumps and the water filtration, and one to go up here and, well, feed this thing. 2 seconds. This is actually pretty straightforward. We're just going to pump the salt water right up from the bottom of the map. However, just to make sure that when that polluted water gets there, we've got a couple of water filters set up here. So what's going to happen is we're going to filter out any salt water. We should maybe just filter out polluted water. Send everything else. Reason being is I think there's some brine. There's like a little bit of brine and stuff still left in here in the odd place. So if the brine... actually, you know what? If the brine gets filtered out, it can get sent over here either. Yep. You know what? It's fine. Anything that's not salt water gets filtered out. It'll get sent into this pipe here. This pipe is already configured to deal with everything. So salt, brine, or polluted water all gets taken care of on that line. And that should be the end of it. Power-wise, though, okay, slightly different plan. Over here, we've plugged in 3 transformers. The first one is already powering all of our other desalination and water filtration. The other 2 power lines, which are these 2 ones here, they're going to pop all the way over. They're not quite finished yet, but they're going to come all the way over. One's going to go down and plug into the liquid pumps, and you're also going to have to manage these 2. Perfect. And then the other one goes up to the top, plugs into those 2, and once that starts running, we'll see how well it works. But it should be fine. It should just be a case of that'll allow us to do that faster, because we want to get some work done. Namely, I want to core out the rest of this map. There's just too much of it left, and I figure if we just core out most of this, that should give us a little bit more space. Things are going okay. We've managed to strip out all this area, and we found a vent I had not noticed at all. It's a steam vent, though, so it doesn't matter. It wasn't like it really changed things much. Unfortunately, we've encountered a bit of a problem. This is our liquid mercury tank, and I was basically just started chucking the regular mercury in here, the solid mercury. Fortunately, it started melting. I kind of expected that, but I didn't expect it to get, like, well, you can see this massive surge here. This is a bit of a wave, because 20 tons of this stuff just burst out, which means 20 tiles of space tried to occupy itself with mercury. We're going to emergency build a tile here. Hopefully, quickly. It's top priority. Anyone want to build that? It's not the end of the world, because there's a liquid pump down here, because a whole bunch of mercury had already ended up in this section. But assuming someone, I mean, it's literally the toppest of top priorities, and yeah. What's the bets there's a biobot slowly making its way over here? Yep. The biobots have to walk. They can't take any of the transport tubes, anything like that, so... Come on. Where's the biobot? Like, at the same time, these guys are actually excavating out the bottom here. We're doing a little bit of emergency. Oh my god. I almost want to get rid of the biobots, just because I think they're a detriment in some situations. When you want stuff done quickly, they get in the way. Incidentality. How do I have so many yellow alerts? No. You're supposed to be at level 5. I must have tried to build more than one thing at a time. Okay. Anyone? Come on. Seriously, they're excavating out this whole area on the biobot. So there it is. Come on. Yeah, and you built it. Right freaking time. All right, we'll excavate this out a bit. I think actually we're going to extend this tank down. We have a whole bunch of space here. I say we deepen the mercury tank. We're going to end up with more mercury as we go along, so maybe making this a few layers deeper mightn't be a bad idea. Well, that takes care of our mercury problem, at least for a while. How much mercury have we still got left? We've only got about 4 tons of the solid stuff. It's just every time we chop stuff up, liquid goes everywhere. And I can't keep liquid from not magically appearing because there's either mercury appears somewhere, or brine, or water melts, or polluted water melts. I want to make sure that stops happening. I want a little bit of consistency on the map. So more of this map needs to be made consistent. And that's a decent amount finished. We've got everything through here has been dug out. Everything through here is gone as well. And everything through here, even a little bit down this edge. I do still want to get, where is it? This area here needs to go as well. That's taking up space. And everything, just sort of everything around level with the power block and up to the top of the map. That needs to be gone and replaced with bricks. Then I might do a big sweep. The bottom half can wait a little bit because there's a few projects I'd like to take care of. Namely, this rocket silo. It is, it's Scorchio. This thing's 1200 degrees down here. Actually, let's launch this rocket. We can go off on a quick round trip. And this here is 1200 degrees. There you go. I was thinking it wasn't taking too long. Now 1670. And then you notice it's going down again. A building melted? Ah, the shipping rails. I think we need to make those out of tungsten, don't we? Or maybe wolframite? Damn it. Okay, I'll get back to those. But for now, what's happening here is the heat from this is getting shunted up the side. So the sides of this are absorbing the heat, and then that's steel all the way up. So it basically gets absorbed all the way up to the top and gets spread out in it. It's like a giant heat spreader, all of these bunker doors. Then what happens is, normally, regolith would fall down out of space, and regolith would cover the top of these, and the regolith would soak up an enormous amount of the heat. However, every time there's a meteor shower right now, it just sort of evaporates into the background of space because the ice lands. It's all icy meteors. They hit the top of this, they melt, and then they turn to a liquid which vanishes into the background of space, and they're gone. And that's it. Not enough of them land for long enough to cause any change in... Oh, and there's that pipe damage. I should go in there and fix that. You know what? We'll make that an auto. Someone can go in there and fix that really quick. Oh, and there was questions here. Why don't we just use normal pipes or radiant pipes through this area? One of the things about running liquids through these is they exchange temperature, even with good insulated pipes, even with ceramic. But you could. In theory, you could just run normal or radiant pipes through here, and so long as they don't interact with anything, and you run through 1 kilo at start to prime them, to get them up to temperature, they would be a cheap, efficient way of doing it. Downside is if you ever want to renovate this and turn it into anything else that's going to have temperature interaction, you're going to have to replace all these pipes at that point. I would prefer to just bite the bullet, get it done, and then as we slowly extend these out, these things will change temperature. Like you can see some of the pipe segments there have turned blue. Though I haven't advised, the input doesn't exist. Which sort of makes sense. If you check here, this pipe is always empty. It effectively teleports. So the output exists, but the input doesn't. Which is why, when we look at the temperature overlays and zoom in, you'll see that the input pipes are all red because they've never exchanged temperature with the liquid oxygen, whereas the output pipes all have. Which means it doesn't really matter what you make those out of. They're not going to exchange temperature or anything. Well, that's my theory. We're going to have to play around with that some more. But for now, we need to get rid of this heat. It's building up too much, and since our heat spreader has a limited amount of thermal capacity, we're going to stick on some steam turbine heat deletion down here. Just give me an idea to figure out the mock-up of a design. We are making this brutally simple. We're going to stick 2 big metal plates down here. They're going to absorb heat from that, and then we're going to inject that heat into a little steam turbine heat deletion device over here. So we shall stick a steam turbine right about there. Then we'll put an aqua tuner down here, and then we'll use a steel airlock to, or a steel mechanized airlock to pump in the heat. As well as that, I might put in some radiant pipes. I'd say we put in some radiant pipes through here as well. And then what happens is we can run supercoolant through it to drag the heat out of all of these. We might even run it through, you know what? We'll leave it serviceable. That's what I want to leave here. We can take that tile out there and that tile out there, break our way in here, do whatever we got to do, and then get back out again. So give me a minute to get this started. Plan here, very, very simple in brute force. We have two giant blocks of diamond in the 9x3 tiles beneath the engine. So 3x9, that's where all the engine exhaust heat is going to go. The diamond temperature shift plate, or these diamond tiles will absorb it, and they're also touching these bunker tiles, so they'll be absorbing from the bunker tiles. And then what happens is all the heat from this will get carried by this temperature shift plate across to here. And then that temperature shift plate here, which is in contact with all three of these tiles, will inject it into this. And once we get the temperature to low enough, I'm thinking we dump in some supercoolant on a loop to start draining out the heat, or just even out the temperature just that bit more. As we extend on and add more and more of these rocket silos, we're going to need some way of getting the heat from the far ends to this end. So I think a little bit of a loop. We just got to make sure the temperature doesn't go above the boiling point, which is for supercoolant, I think it's 500 degrees. 436. Okay, we got to stay below 436. Might want to use petroleum. Petroleum has less heat capacity. You know what? I'll think about that a bit longer, but I think that will be the last lump of supercoolant just in case. Now, once this temperature shift plate kicks in, that will be it. The system will be active. Actually, there we go. Chili Peeps will get that set up. Once that's in place, this temperature sensor will keep the door engaged until the temperature in here is 190 C. At that point, it'll disengage. We want to make sure that we drain as much of the heat out of this as possible. We want to keep the temperature as low as possible. And... oh, and these are gold tiles. There we go. Maybe I should have put a temperature shift plate touching those. Eek. Yeah, that's not great. It's just I didn't want a temperature shift plate there because of the injecting heat into this tile, and I was concerned. It's not melting the gold, which, you know, good sign. And a little bit of steam. Alright, now the polluted water should start to boil shortly at that point. There we go. Okay, and then we've got our first piece of dirt. Yeah, and there's the rest of them gone. We'll just check the gas overlay. Yeah, it's all steam. Seems to be working. It's going to drain the heat right out of there in no time at all. Okay, then. That means, well, we're still not going to put in the supercoolant just yet. We may use a different liquid entirely. Maybe liquid... the thing is, most liquids have very low thermal capacity. Most of the ones that for transferring stuff. You're either stuck with petroleum or supercoolant for reasonably high temperatures. Like petroleum over here, this stuff can go up to 538. Problem is its specific heat capacity is 1.76. Supercoolant is an absolutely incredible 8. So you're looking at, you know, 4 times as much thermal carry capacity. Maybe if I was running more supercoolant. Yeah, like the thing is, the diamond, I suppose, is going to be the biggest thing. There's 100 kilos of it. We'll give it a go. We'll see how it works. Since we do want to get the temp on this lowered a bit, I've decided to crank it up to 200 degrees. Little cooling loop. We've got a little AquaTuner cooling loop. This standard issue 1. That's set to -15. And why are you not rotating? Oh, I need to take out a blob. 1 second, easy peasy. Blob removal is pretty handy. You just put in a liquid bridge and 1 pipe segment, and it takes 1 blob out of the system. And done. It's now rotating again. My bad. Like, there's several ways to do this overflow, and some of them are better than others, but then you got to worry about space control. You know what? Doesn't make a difference. This one is working for now, and we have enough supercoolant here that we can dump it into the system later if we need to. Right now, the temperature of this has dropped from, I think it was like 1,000 degrees when we started, though a bunch of that has been dumped into these window tiles, I know. But this will slowly eat all of that heat. Right, that means we can start automating our rocket production just that little bit. Well, our rocket, we want to start cycling out to planets regularly. But I think first off, what I really want to do is maybe get rid of this section over here. This needs to be tidied up. Somehow that just feels so much better. It's just an ease off your mind. There's less mush there to worry about. That takes care of most of the top of the map, but we've already encountered a problem with our little rocket silo build. Actually, 1 second. Seal that up. We also had a problem with those. I had to break back in there and repair the rails. Now, the problem is, it just can't absorb the heat. I was thinking this thing wasn't going to produce that much. It produces an enormous quantity of heat. Just these 2 rockets alone are driving up the temperatures up and up and up. That's a problem. We're going to need to stick on at least two, maybe even three more turbines. Actually, let's go four. Well, let's see if that works. Yeah, it should be fine. Just don't get past that little visco gel blob. I put in a temperature shift plate just to make sure that would... Oh, and immediately, first thing we want to do is get that stuff out of there. If we're opening this up, I'm taking it to dirt. It's just, I could live with it being in there if the other alternative was, breaking back in and going through all that effort. But since we're already breaking in, it would seem a shame not to just grab it while we're about. But if they could hurry up, that would be great. The temperature out there is getting a bit toasty. You know what? Take out the temperature shift plate now. Come on. Oh, yeah, I put that tile there. You know what? Get rid of that tile too. And that's finished. Okay, perfect. We'll put those on priority 9. We're not going to do the extreme priority because then that'll probably call the biobots. Don't mention their name or they might appear. God damn it. What are you here for? What are you here for? Please tell me it's not one of these ones. Oh, never mind. It's just for the steam turbine. It's okay. We're fine. We're fine. I am severely tempted to put in a second layer, but it'd be tricky. You see, we'd have to put in the steam turbines right about there, which means the steam room's going to be down here, which means we'd have to extend these on, and it just... But then the more rockets we start to add, the more this becomes a problem. We might have to actually move these up. If we move these up and we have the first steam room here, that gives us 2 tiles. Then we'd have, so 2 tiles for the steam room, then a 3rd tile for the floor, 3 tiles for the... Oh, damn it, let me can't work this out. It might work, but we'll leave that for a little bit. I've got a whole bunch more things to do. You see, the thing is, I want to start sweeping up the place as well and getting rid of all of these liquids. All these liquids and gases are causing problems. They're just slowing everything down. The game is chugging pretty hard. It doesn't like what's happening. Might also be the critters. We went a little hard on the critters. And when I say a little hard, I mean, okay, maybe a little bit too hard. That's a lot of critters. The game is struggling to keep... let's just say I've given a lot of orders for stuff to be done, and they just don't get done because the dupes will pause, think about something for a minute, and then go, oh, wait, I'm supposed to be doing something. Like these guys over here, they're supposed to be moved. We have movement orders on them for a while, for a long while. And they're all supposed to get moved over here where there's a giant pile of critters. A lot of spigot seals. Yeah, we're basically moving all the critters there where they can't move. It just cuts down on passing calculations, and then when they drop anything, we can grab it. In fact, if we check our squash fries, which I know it says that's out of the kitchen, but it still works just fine. We still have 10 tons of tallow. In fact, our tallow has gone up, not down. I think we had 4 tons or 6 tons last I checked. Now that we've opened up all those extra areas of the map, we found a whole bunch more of the stuff. Stuff doesn't go off. And squash fries... Oh, we have 800,000 calories of squash fries. I think we need a second cook, which I have hired. They're just currently training up. I've got to take some of those people out of storage as well. After letting this thing run overnight, the place is looking so much cleaner. I came back after about 5 hours, did like a little bit of minor cleanup work, queued up some more commands, then went back to sleep. Yeah, I'm not too much of a... I like my sleep, okay? Not being exhausted is kind of nice. Anyway, over here, but basically what we did was we queued this thing up to be left alone, and all we had to worry about was a few key things. One was oxygen production, which is done off of liquid that was coming from our main tank over here. So we weren't going to run out of liquid anytime soon. Plus, this entire tank had been pretty much changed to clean water. Then the problem I was worried about was actually the tank would fill up, because we currently have our toilet overflow and our power brick, the natural gas power brick. Its water output goes in here. So I put in some extra tanks here so that if the water overflowed, it'd go into those tanks. And then I realized, wait a minute, why don't I just stop the saltwater geyser? If I stop that, it should stop it from filling up too much. And we still have this down here, which was feeding on at the time. I've made some changes since then. But that made sure that we didn't run out of water. Unfortunately, well, it did still break, though. Problem was, somehow, either, I think it was mercury or nectar. Yep, nectar. Nectar got in here, and it basically broke out of those machines and flooded the bottom area, and the gas pumps shut off. That shut off oxygen to the base, which would have been a problem except for the fact that we have all these aloe veras down here which kept the place oxygenated, and the game crashed after about the first 4 hours anyway. So it wasn't like the dupes didn't starve, but the Atmos suits were almost dry. But that was That was fine. We basically have these things here. We can plug these back in anytime we want, so we just use those to top that back up, got the duplicates out there, and fix the issue. Namely, all we had to do was just open those doors, drop the liquid out, and right back to normal. Oh, you. Mop that up. The other things we had to take care of were this thing down here, this polluted water tank. Basically, I dumped all of the polluted ice in here, sealed it in, and at some point that's going to pop. I've double layered it now. But yeah, this is our polluted water supply. That feeds into our fertilizer supply. So, like, pipe goes all the way over there. Just to make sure that we've got enough fertilizer to keep all of the food inbound. At the same time, I ripped out a bunch of stuff down here because we didn't need it, which reminds me, that can all get swept right there. We definitely had food sorted by this. This was fed by ethanol. Ethanol came from here. Ethanol was sourced by wood, though I did dig up 4 of these plants since. Namely because this thing can only support 40. 2 of these can only support 40. I put in the third one later. So this meant we had all the ethanol we were going to need, which meant we were going to have all the food we were going to need, so we didn't have to worry about food. At the same time, to get the wood to run these, we had these guys, the phloxes, but the phloxes were taken care of because they run on the pike apple bush, and the pike apple bush, well, that was powered by the phosphorite, which was coming from the Drecos, and we had plenty of phosphorite. So we got our phosphorite, which we turned into wood, which we turned into ethanol, which we turned into food. It's just oxygen unincluded gets that way after a while, but we were definitely sorted on all those fronts, which is why we had no major issues. Only the minor oxygen pump clog, which could have turned into a major one, I think, after about 8 hours. No one would be able to leave, which means no one would be able to get to the Drecos, but I think we still would have had enough phosphorite to keep us going for the full 8 hours. But, as you can see, the place is clean, it's tidy, everything has been swept, even down at the bottom of this liquid tank. We got everything. And we managed to clean out all the liquids in here. This is where the clean water was when we started. Yeah, it was down to this section. So all of the rest of the stuff was either salt water, polluted water, or, junk like that. I even put in a few liquid pumps over here to pull out the last of the dregs. And, what I've learned. Yeah, we need to get more rocket silos in here. I think I'm going to dump this petroleum into the background of space. I don't really need it just yet. And what I want to do is get more steel. I remember this bottleneck. We want more steel so we can build more rockets. And we can't build more rockets until we have more steel. And what we can do is set up rockets to go to the satellites. The satellites have steel on them. And then we'll have 2 rockets just constantly going back and forth draining them. I just got to also expand out this. See, this thing here can just about keep up, but only barely. And if we're going to add in a couple more rockets, we're going to need to expand this a little bit. Oh, and these liquid tanks need to be spread out a little bit more. Those liquid tanks are in the way of putting in this rocket silo, and we're making these rockets shorter. Reason being is, well, we're going to go with continuous round trips. There's things you can do with timers and all sorts of stuff. Actually, maybe we should. That might save us a little bit of resources, and I've never tried the timer route before. I think we're going to use timers. We're going to set some timers to go set these off on, whatever, the correct time so that they can strip mine the asteroids as they fill up. And we can slowly, over time, drain the lot of them, or just keep constantly draining them as necessary. This will require a pilot for every rocket, but, well, duplicates are pretty handy to train up at this point, so it shouldn't be a problem to get as many pilots as we need. I've even got a few already in storage, which reminds me I should start assigning out some names. But first, I just want to get this bricked in. Once we've got this serviceable, we can make a few changes. I think I'm going to stick in some gas pumps here, and I'm just going to vacuum out the last of it, namely because it's just too much effort. One there, and one there. Well, that was a lot quicker. Excellent. Then we can deconstruct everything in here can go. We're also going to need to take out that on top. And I think we're going to replace this with insulated tiles. You see, I want some way of getting this stuff out of here, so I might have to run a conveyor rail all the way down here. Otherwise, we have to worry about that stuff, well, sitting in there and having to be brought out. We could end up with problems. So if we say make a steel... Actually, no, we don't even need a steel rail. Once we get past the first section, we can switch over to iron. And then we can bring that down there and dump it right there for now. But that means we're going to need to insulate this in and somehow get the heat from this side to the other. I think I have a way to do that. At the same time, we're also putting in all of the piping over here. We're just going to extend this on. This should be fairly straightforward, I think. So the plan here is to have diamond temperature shift, or diamond plates here, or diamond tiles there, and then we've put a bunch of conveyor bridges and liquid bridges. So we've got 3 conveyor loaders made out of steel, and we've got some liquid bridges made out of igneous rock. That should transfer the heat across without us actually injecting any heat into our extracted resources. Well, that's the theory. You need to go down to 0. That is perfect. And then we're going to start rotating this stuff through. All right, you rotate through there, and we'll sever that line. Oop. Perfect. All going around. Finished. Alright, you can be deconstructed. Might need a ladder segment out there to grab that, and then we can start sealing that up. And then down here, you're almost completed as well. We can start sweeping this junk up. You can all be removed. We've just about enough diamond. Maybe I should start harvesting diamond as well. We need a diamond space. Temperature-wise, you can actually see it backfilling this one a bit. Huh. Okay. So in theory it should work. In practice we'll have to find out. Now we just got to do some cleanup. I've got to strip out some of these ladders. Yeah, there's a few sections here, like this entire section here needs to go. And then we're going to have to strip mine down here, put in some walls. Done. Time to get this harvesting party started. Right, we've got both of them. We've got hauler 1, well, it's just hauler. That's set to go to this planet. This planet has a replenishment per cycle of 55.6 kilos. Hauler 2, an imaginative name I know, 55.6 kilos. Now, we have 2 tons of cargo capacity, so how long will it take 55.6 kilos of replenishment to fill 2 tons? Numbers say 35.9 cycles. So let's just round it up to 36. Well, it's 35.97 cycles. I'm just going to say 36, it's easier. So once every 36 cycles, we have to launch them. Then between them coming there and getting back, yeah, it'll all work out even. Just so long as we're launching them on the 36 cycle mark every 36 cycles. So what we've done here, actually, I'll show you the simplified version of it first. The simplified version of it here is this is just a 2-second timer. Let me reset all of these. Right. So when this thing goes to green, it increments this counter by 1. So 1, 2, etc. Now, once this counter hits 9, it will increment this counter, which then has to count up 4 times. So every time this hits 9, it sends a green signal, which tells this counter to count up 1. So 4 9s, 9, 18, 27, 36. So that's 36. This thing is set to 2 seconds. So that means so long as this goes off once every cycle, this will pass on the signal once every 36 days. So then we'll come over here and... No, actually, you know what? We'll make that 300. 300. So that means once a day... Well, for half the day, but like once a day it turns green, once a day it turns red. But that means it's going to increment this counter by 1. That means 9 multiplied by 4, 36. So every 36 cycles, that goes off. And we'll just come back over here for a second and watch the counter on this. So you can see it's going up. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9 sends on a green signal. And then 10 increments up to 1 again. And then it keeps going and going. It just basically counts it up. The thing is, once this hits once this hits 36 cycles, it'll start sending out a green signal, but it won't stop sending the green signal for a whole day, which I thought was problematic. So instead what I've done is I've set this to every 5 seconds. Well, this filters this throughput for 5 seconds, which means once this thing activates, it'll send the on signal for 5 seconds, which will launch the rockets. Once the rockets are launched, it will then reset this. I don't think it's 100% necessary, but I wanted to be just a little bit cautious. Now, but for now, we're just going to launch them both. We've got some manual automation we can do here, so both of those should immediately kick off. Done. Then we can turn off that switch, and then down here we can reset you, and we can reset you. Done. 36 cycles from now, they'll launch again auto-magically, and they'll drop off their cargo auto-magically via these conveyor rails, meaning, and they'll fuel up automatically via this. So we've got them fueled, we've got them emptied, and we've got them launched all on an auto thing. And the only reason we're sending them to these satellites, steel. Okay, we get copper and glass, and we'll get some trace amounts of fullerene, and over here we just get abyssalite. Yeah, these are pretty terrible. I should really re-roll the map. If I had known how terrible this is going to be, I would have re-rolled the map. But it's fine. Steel, copper, we'll have lots of steel, lots of copper. The reason we want more steel is, well, these silos are pretty expensive, but they're maintenance-free. any meteors that come in here just bounce right off them. We don't need to, in fact, we got rid of the doors. Namely because having doors on this just means you need scanners. Having scanners is pointless when you have perfect silos like this. So all that's going to happen is these things can run out, go grab us some steel, bring it back, drop it off, and our steel supplies will slowly start going up, giving us more steel to build more silos, which allows us to go out and harvest more planets. I am going to want to hit this carbon asteroid just for the diamond. Diamond would be nice. And that one's got niobium, so that one's got isoresin, and that one's got maybe 2 more rockets just on round trips to these guys might be an idea. It's pretty cheap. Okay, it costs duplicates, but again, like I said, pretty cheap. I also have to pop out to the organic mass and grab some gassy moves so we can automate our critter ranching just that little bit better. But barring that, I'm not really seeing anything here that's drawing me in. Like, if we want niobium, we got 3% here. But to find a better source of niobium, we would have to go all the way to where is it? Like, it's just ridiculous. You'd have to come. Nope. There we go. We would have to go all the way out to this asteroid, the helium giant, way out here to get a better source of niobium. It's not really worth it. This one though is interesting. Aluminium. It's the only place you can get it on this map, as far as I'm aware. So I don't even think you can get it at the gate, or maybe we have, but I'm not even sure. And that gets fossil as well. A few round trips there just to get some aluminium might be fun. But by and large, I don't think we really need much else. In fact, as long as we get a round trip to there for niobium, and we get a round trip for there for isoresin, I think we're golden. Like, isoresin at the 5,000 mark is only 11%, whereas isoresin here is already 11%. So there's really no point going any further. There's a 15% isoresin, but the round trip time is insane. It's really awesome. I suppose it does give us solid chlorine, and we're going to need chlorine for the gassy moos. But isoresin is just, it's just cheaper to, it's better to harvest the close ones, and that never made sense to me. All right. I think next up I'm going to do a quick bit of demolition around here in the background. It's just, the map moves so much smoother now that we've cleared out most of this, and that still hasn't popped. I'm waiting for that to pop because I figure 18 tiles of pressure might actually break something here. That's why I had to seal this whole thing in. We might need to expand that tank just a little bit. Alright, but I think in the background, maybe do a little bit of mild demolition here and there, then sweep the place up, get the place moving nicely, and then once we've got it cleared out, put in the last of the rockets, and then I'm thinking, maybe put in a couple more sour gas boilers. There was a few sour gas boiler designs recommended. I'd like to give them a try. This is going to be a little bit short, unfortunately. It's just there wasn't a lot of footage of stuff happening because most of it was just time-lapsed. Apologies for that. But I'm going to cut this out here. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck.